coming to you from the Italian Sports Hall of Fame banquet in New Orleans, Louisiana, and with Alexander Rossi, who won the Indianapolis 500 as a rookie in 2016. Alex, welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So tell us, what is that like coming in? It was a very dramatic finish you had.
Dramatic's one way to put it, for sure. It was amazing. I just had the opportunity in the first place to compete in the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. I had never been to the race before. I had been in Europe for the previous 7 years racing and competing in Formula One, so my knowledge of the 500 and IndyCar in general was super limited. So that whole month of May, the lead up to the event and the history of the entire race and what that means not only to motorsport history but American history as well was very exceptional and something that really changed my perspective of
Was that a goal for you to do Indy, being in Europe so long?
No, not at all. The opportunity came to race in IndyCar for Andretti Autosport very late in February of last year, and it was an opportunity that made a lot of sense, and I got on a plane from England where I was living at the time and flew to Indianapolis and had a deal signed about 5 days later. So no, it was never on my radar. But
and you're with one of the iconic teams. I mean, Mario, Michael. There's just got to be so much energy with that.
Absolutely, and that was one of the main reasons as to why I made the decision to come back to America and race here, was because I would have the opportunity to drive for Michael, and he was someone that understood what I had gone through as an American going to Europe and trying to achieve a goal of racing in Formula One, and he had also made the transition from F1 to IndyCar, so there was a lot of similarities and a lot of things that we could relate on, and he's a great guy to work for.
So there's a lot of Americans who are weekend warriors on the car track. I mean, but what you did winning, I mean, it's got to be everybody is picturing themselves hitting the home run in the end of the World Series. What was going on with the pits as you guys decided how to strategize and hold on?
Well, the issue was we were quick all month. The first third of the race, we were in the top 10, top 6, and everything was going well. And then we had 2 very bad pit stops where we couldn't refuel the car.
Yes.
So we went from 6th to 30th over those 2 pit stops. So it forced us to go off strategy and to try and do 1 stop less than everyone else, which was all fine and well in theory. But on the last fuel stint, we had to make the fuel go 5 laps longer than anyone had ever gone before, and we had ever gone before. So we were in pretty unknown territory. So it was obviously a huge team effort to make that happen. And I didn't think that. No one thought that we would make it. Even starting the last lap, I didn't think I was going to make it back.
You can hear your voice and talking to the pit. I mean, it seems like you waited till the last second. They told you to give it, to let it out.
The engine started to cut in turn 2, and at that point you still have, nearly 2 miles of the track left. And so we wanted to get the car to the highest speed as possible to coast down from. So as the engine started to cut, we were at about 150 miles an hour, got it up to 210, and then coasted down to 130 as we crossed the line. So.
Now, and your teammates, does it work well to have the other Andretti people and just that strategy so that you've got a lot of support when you're on the track trying to figure out how to do that?
Yes, I mean, I was in a fortunate situation because 2 of my teammates had an issue earlier in the race, so they were out of contention. They were quite a few laps down, and the way we were on track together actually worked out for me because I was able to stay behind them, and when you drive close to the car in front of you, you can save more fuel than normal. Exactly, you can draft. So that was, another thing that went our direction, and it was one of those things that was just meant to be.
Now, I understand Laguna Seca is special for you, and Laguna Seca is special for so many people because of Pebble Beach and the vintage racing. The corkscrew, what are your favorite parts of the track?
I love the whole track. Laguna is special to me because it's where my father and I would go from when I was 3 years old and watch races. So that was really my introduction to racing, and then it was the track that I learned how to drive a race car on. From when I was 14, I got into a race car for the first time and have 2,000 to 3,000 laps there, and it's basically home for me in terms of driving race cars.
Are there any other specific races that you remember so well? Like that last lap at Indy, but what else compares to that?
My debut in Formula One was obviously very special. That was something that I had worked for 15 years before it became a reality. Competing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans was amazing. 24 Hours of Daytona. I've been fortunate at 25 to have competed in all the big races in the world now. So Indy will always be special because it was the biggest event. It was the first time in history they ever sold it out. There was 420,000 people in attendance. There'll never be a sporting event in my lifetime that was as big as that.
So what was the role of your dad? Family was very big in your education on racing?
Yeah, no, my family was critical. I was very fortunate to be brought up in a very close-knit family, and None of us knew anything about racing. I didn't come from a racing background or a racing family, and it was a huge effort for my father, my mom, my grandma, starting out, and they would all come to the racetrack, would pour all of their lives into it, and they still do. It's the main reason that I am where I am today, because of the family that I have.
Is there anything special that when Italians, we pride ourselves, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Bugatti, so much about racing? So is it part of the culture to be like you've brought the culture and won at Indy, and a little bit of pride there for the Italian industry?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think there's a huge amount of Italian influence in motorsports, and it's a sport that is, you know, its home is Italy, really.
Yeah,
and so for me to be an Italian American and to be able to represent that in an event such as the Indy 500 is an amazing thing. And like I said, my family was a huge part of it, and they were all integral in my career from a daily basis. And it's very rare, I think, to have so much family support for one goal.
Sure.
You know, it's difficult sometimes because, you know, people have different opinions and such, but the selflessness of my whole family kind of pushed me to where I am today, and I was very fortunate with that.
Any tips for a go-karter on how a 12-year-old or 14-year-old can make it to follow you?
Be okay with the fact that it'll never go according to plan, and that's all right. I mean, I never, in my wildest dreams, imagined I'd be competing in IndyCar, let alone the Indy 500, just because it was not my career path. The opportunity came, and initially it was a little bit disappointing, but it's obviously turned out to be something very special, and my knowledge of the sport and appreciation for the sport is increased tenfold. And so sometimes when doors close, other doors open, and it's all for the better.
Wow, great. Alex, it's a pleasure meeting you. Congratulations on winning
it.
Indy, and thank you for coming down to New Orleans to share a little bit of the enthusiasm with our crowd here. We got about 400 people here tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing. Look forward to it.
Frank has been doing this for about 35 years, and his dad. It's just a fun night. Glad you're part of it.
Thank you very much.
All right.